Chapter 255. Emma was very puzzled when she heard her mother persuading her to return to work for Richard Group again. Therefore, she could only ask her mother, "Mom, what kind of ecstasy did Grandma feed you? Why are you always forcing me to go back to work for Richard Group?" Elaine was very anxious at this time and she quickly replied, "If you work for Richard Group, you'll be getting a fixed annual salary. Isn't that better than starting your own business? What if you lose all of your money because you chose to start your own business? What should your father and I do, then?" Emma replied in a firm manner, "Mom, stop trying to force me. I'm never going to return to work for Richard Group. Even if I have to beg for food on the streets, I would never return to work for Richard Group in this lifetime. I might have to beg for food, but I'll never lose my own pride or dignity." Elaine glared at Emma before she said, "Are you doing all just to preserve your own pride or dignity?" After Elaine was done speaking, she started crying as she complained in an aggrieved tone, "Richard Group is about to go bankrupt. If it really does shut down, then your father and I will not be receiving our pensions. You should know very well that we'll have to rely on this pension for our retirement fund when we grow older. Moreover, even if your grandmother doesn't think highly of your father, he still has a stake in Richard Group. If you refuse to return to the company, we'll also lose our dividends then. What are we going to do in the future?" Emma blurted out immediately, "Mom, the Richard family deserves to go bankrupt because they don't know how to manage their own company. Even if they go bankrupt today, I think they deserve it because they've brought it upon themselves." Elaine started to lose her temper at this time. "Emma, what are you talking about? We've already been part of the Richard family for a long time and you've already worked for Richard Group for many years. Don't you feel anything at all if Richard Group goes bankrupt just like this? Emma, can you consider going back to work for Richard Group for my sake?" Emma replied immediately, "Mom, I've always done everything that you want me to do. You asked me to give you most of my salary and I obeyed. You asked to be put in charge of our family's finances and I gave in to you. Dad and I have never had any objections to you managing all our money. I've already given in to you all the time and I think you should show me a little respect. I really don't wish to go back and work for Richard Group, and I want to start my own business and do something for myself. Can't you just support me for the first time in your life?" Elaine knew that she was wrong, but after listening to Emma's words, she sat down on the sofa and kept crying as she said, "Why is my life so difficult? I've worked so hard to raise my daughter and I thought that I could depend on her to marry a good and capable husband. Who can ever understand why your grandfather insisted that you marry someone like Alex? Now, my daughter doesn't even care about me or bother to listen to my advice anymore. Tell me, what's the point of staying alive if my family doesn't even care about me anymore?" Emma felt extremely angry and frustrated when she saw her mother complaining about how miserable her life was. Therefore, she started to lose her temper and she said, "Mom, can you stop taking out your anger on Alex all the time? Alex is very promising now and he's taking good care of our family. Once the renovations are complete, you'll be able to move into the biggest villa at Beacon Top because of Alex. Can't you just be grateful and stop complaining already?" Elaine continued crying as she said, "What do you want me to be grateful for? So what if we move into the villa? We have to live in fear because who knows when the White family will change their minds and decide to kick us out of the villa." Emma sighed before she said, "Mom, I can't tolerate this anymore if you are going to continue crying and complaining all the time. Please stop it or I'll move out of this house with Alex." "You?" Elaine started getting anxious at this time and she stood up and said, "Do you really want to live apart from us?" Emma nodded before she replied, "Yes. Alex and I have already been married for so many years. It's time for us to move out." "No!" Elaine blurted out immediately. "Absolutely not." Emma looked at her mother with a serious expression on her face before she said, "Mom, if you're going to continue to force me to go back and work for Richard Group, I'll move out of this house with Alex immediately. If you stop talking about Richard Group, then I won't move out. You can make the decision on your own." Elaine looked at Alex and she could tell that she was not kidding. At this time, she suddenly realized that she was already testing Emma's limits by taking things too far. If she continued crying and creating trouble for her daughter, she knew that Emma would definitely move out of the house with Alex without any hesitation. At that time, she would have no choice but to fend for herself.